Recording in progress.
Going to call this afternoon meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody today, everyone. Pleasure to have people in the audience today. We have some good stuff, good positive stuff today. So I'm going to ask the council, I've already asked them. I'm going to report out of closed. That resolution by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Potnevitz, that the council of the town of Minto receives the closed session report regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual for information. All in favor of that motion? Thank you. That's carried.
Mayor Turton,
Yes, sir.
can I make a motion to move the Hospice Wellington delegation to the first delegation today?
Thank you.
They have somewhere else to be.
Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Anderson. Okay, thank you for that. So we have a resolution by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the minutes of the Town of Minto September 5th, 2023 closed session meeting and the September 19th, 2023 regular council meeting be approved. Is there any discussion on either one of those minutes? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. So next resolution, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Town of Minto Council convenes into the Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. So we have no public meetings today. We're going to move right into our delegations. And I'm going to ask our delegates to approach the mic, state who you are, and speak into the mic. And hopefully, Julie Martin Jansen from Hospice Wellington. Each of you have 8 to 10 minutes, if you don't mind. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay,
Julie.
hopefully you can hear me. I will talk fast, but thank you very much, Mayor and councillors. I appreciate you letting us come today to talk to you a little bit about what Hospice Wellington does and how we're trying to get supports and services out into the rural communities. So next slide there. So we'll go to the next slide too. So when people hear the word hospice, normally people think, oh, it's that building that's in Guelph that has the 10-bed residence, and it's where people go to die. So I'm hoping today I can change your mind on that and just sort of your perspective about what hospice does, because hospice is a lot more than just about the residents in the building that's in Guelph. It's about community supports, and we've been part of the community since 1980. And we're committed to providing excellence in hospice palliative care for individuals and their families. So we not only support the person who has a life-limiting diagnosis, we support their caregivers, their families, and we support people who are grieving the loss of a loved one. So this year we have a strategic plan, and part of that strategic plan is there's 3 parts to it. There's the community engagement, serving Wellington County, and investing in quality care. So the serving Wellington County is why I'm here, is to talk about the supports and services. So in front of you, I actually had given you, there's a piece of paper there that has some yellow highlights on it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those supports and services. So next slide. So who do we support? We support people, again, who have that life-limiting illness. So we call that palliative. Their caregivers and people, anyone in Wellington County or anyone we've supported in the residence, we provide bereavement support for them and their families. Next. So the goals of palliative care is to get in there early on as possible. So when somebody has been given a diagnosis of a life-limiting illness, our goal is to help that person along their journey. And it doesn't mean that at that point that they have only a few months to live. Palliative care is that approach to care. It encompasses a whole wellness of domains, so psychosocial, spiritual, social, and hospice believes that end of life deserves as much care and comfort and quality and respect as the beginning. So that's what we're there to help people who are palliative with. Next slide. So these are some of the supports that we offer for people who are palliative. And again, that sheet that's in front of you that has the highlighted, I won't go over it real, I'll let you look at it there. But what I want to point out is those are all the supports and services that we are offering for people who are palliative right now. And the yellow highlighted are what we've been able to bring out into the rural community already in the 2 years that I've been in this job. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So next. So then I did, this is a little bit about our residential facility where we have 10 resident beds that provide that hospice palliative care. So hospice palliative care means end of life care. So people who are in possibly their last 3 months of life could come to Hospice Wellington. We have expert nurses there. It's a very warm and inviting home setting. It's a tranquil space for individuals and their families to come and have their end of life. So I'll go to the next. So we also support those caregivers. So people who are caring for a loved one in their homes, or even if they're in the residence, we do support them. So there's lots of different supports. And again, that's on that sheet that I gave you. And the yellow part of the caregiver, I think we're doing everything in rural that is helping to support caregivers. Next. We also, with anyone who's palliative, a caregiver, or anyone who's grieving or bereaved, we have wellness supports. So it's anywhere from Reiki, in-person Reiki, distance therapeutic touch. We have music and art therapy, and we also have massage therapy. And Mondays we have a gentle yoga. So most of those are in the Guelph location in the community level, but we also are bringing some of those supports. So we do have music, we have a little bit of art, and we have distance Reiki and therapeutic touch out into the rural communities now as well. So the bereavement that we offer, so grief and loss, is we do have one-to-one support, and it's a normal and natural response that grief is for whenever you lose a loved one. But grief is about a loss, so we also have pet loss bereavement that we just started doing. So we have a lot of supports, again, on that sheet there that I've shown you or given you. Thanks. So in our community service too, we have a lending library, we have a happy lamp, we call it. We do advanced care planning. And I've also given you one of our newest things that we've got out there is that guide to end of life planning and support booklet that I've given you. And we're doing a lot more workshops on, we call it the just in case, be prepared supports, but we also do advanced care planning support as well. So this is why we're expanding our services, because people in Wellington County who live out in North Wellington, in Minto, Mapleton, the farther areas of Wellington County, don't want to drive that hour and a bit, or just under an hour to get to our Guelph location. So that's why we are trying to expand our services out into the rural communities. So with that, how we came about that is the next slide. Is this is Oscar and Clara Bookbinder. And Oscar and Clara actually both passed away at our hospice residence. And they felt very, very strongly about having rural supports out in Wellington County. And they left part of their estate, $250,000, to Hospice Wellington, specifically to get supports out into the rural communities. They both were from Rockwood, and they were, Clara was a music teacher, and I actually have music in Rockwood now, so I'm very excited about that. They'd be very happy. So our next slide. So part of what they did when they got that money was they put a committee together, and they talked about what do we need to do, where are the gaps in rural, and what can we do to provide support. So we're not trying to duplicate supports that are already out here. So my role when I started, it's a 3-year pilot project. So I'm in just over 2 years. And it was to get out into the community, find out what's already out there, what resources are there, is there bereavement supports, do they have caregiver supports, is there groups out there, and then to create some partnerships. So partnering with the family health teams, with cancer patient services, with the GEM nurses at the hospital. So we've been doing all that, and we continue to do that. The other part of our job being in rural is the promotion part, is to let people know what hospice is doing and what services we're trying to bring out into the rural communities. And again, change people's mind about what hospice means, because it's not just about that end of life. It's about, having a quality life when you're palliative and supporting the families and people who are grieving as well. So we have volunteers. Right now, I think we have 158 volunteers that do 33 hours of specialized training. So we are trying hard to get more volunteers out into the rural communities. We do have quite a few, but it's harder to get them up closer to this area and to the north. So we are working on that. And then we are a registered charity, but all of our programs are at no cost to any of our clients in the community or anyone in Wellington County that has been a client. We also support people who are grieving that had a loved one in our residence. So if they live in Toronto, we do support them as well through bereavement. And we get funding, 30 some odd percent is from the ministry, and 70% of our funding we need to get from fundraising, from our charity events, and from donations. So that's how we get most of our money, is through that way. And then again, I talked a little bit about our events. We have lots of events. We have our main ones, which is the next one coming up is our Tree of Remembrance. So luckily we have some places out in rural in Mount Forest. I'm doing one of their Christmas bazaars, so I'll have a table there to sell our ornaments. Sussman's in Arthur will have our tree there. They leave it up for a month. So if you are looking for that, but that's one of our big fundraisers that we raise money for. And we just had our golf tournament, which is a real success. And this year for our hike, for a golf tournament, we've over exceeded the amount that we were projecting to raise, which has been wonderful. So without your community support and involvement, we would not exist. So I do want to thank you again for listening to me, and hopefully that changes your perspective a little bit about what some of the things we can do through Hospice Wellington. And we'd love to hear from you. So if anybody has any questions or anything, please feel free to call anytime. I am out in rural pretty much 4 out of the 5 days of the week. So I am all over the place. And luckily, the family health teams have given us office space. So I have 4 different location office spaces. We run a caregiver group out of Harriston and Mount Forest and Rockwood. So we are really getting a lot more supports out into the rural communities. So we've also left you a copy of our what's called an at a glance, and that is what our programs are in this time frame. So for the fall, it'll tell you all of our programs for palliative caregiver and people who are grieving, and that is everything. So thanks. I think I did 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more. But does anybody have any quick questions?
Councillor Elliott.
Just one. I golf in the Norma Owens golf tournament.
Yes.
Last 22 years I've been in that, and we hear good things there about hospice, and it's good that you have that going for you.
Yeah, they're a third party fundraiser for us.
Right.
So so some of our funding comes from third party fundraisers. So that tournament is also one that raises money for hospice, but
they raise a lot of money for your hospice.
Oh, absolutely. So wonderful. Thank you for being involved in that. Yeah.
20 years. Is that what you said?
22. I was 14 when I
Other
started.
questions?
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Hi there, thank you for coming and doing your presentation. So I just have some questions about families accessing your services. Sorry, they tell me they can't hear me. Hard to believe, but, everything is on the internet nowadays. So for
Yes.
seniors who are out there, people are having trouble accessing healthcare primarily. I work in the emergency department in Fergus, also work in dialysis, and basically that's a palliative service. And
Yes.
That's they're fortunate enough to get a transplant. They don't know how to find you. They don't know that the services are available.
Yeah, that's why this is important to do stuff
Right.
like this.
So
Word
is
of
it
mouth.
Like, all the doctor's offices know that they can refer people there? Do people have to go to the doctor's office? Can they self-refer? Can somebody just give them your number and they can call it?
Yes to all of the above.
All of the
Yes.
above.
So yeah, so to anyone who's a caregiver or someone who is grieving, you can call yourself and self-refer. For someone who's palliative, you can also self-refer, but we usually ask for what the prognosis is because someone who's palliative prognosis 18 months or less, but doctors are not wanting to give prognoses anymore. So we are looking at, if you have the support of the palliative team out in rural. So if you have the doctors through home and community care or the community care access supports, it's home and community care support services. Used to be CCAC, the LIN, all those other ones. So they usually do a referral too, and they would refer to us, doctors, social workers, the GEM nurses at the hospital have referred to us. So yeah, anybody can send in that referral for someone who's palliative, even themselves. Caregivers, I've had nurse practitioners, the social workers tell people you need to go to hospice. So that is part of our promotional part of rural, is to make sure that people know that in the hospitals that, yeah, they're giving that resources. But doctors are the hard ones to get them to send the referrals in, because I'm sure they have a lot of stuff on their plate and they might not think hospice. But because I'm in the family health teams, I'm always sticking things in their mailboxes and posting stuff up on the boards. And it is word of mouth, so we are really trying hard. So we have had a lot of referrals come from word of mouth, or they've seen a flyer hanging up in one of the towns or something. So yeah.
So when you say the 18 months, I mean, it's so difficult. It used to be 3 months if they were in the.
Well,
hospital.
that's hospice. So
Right.
that's for the residents. So that's end of life. So if they have a referral or they want to come to the residents for their end of life, then it would have to be that PPS of 30% or lower. So less than 3 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
'cause it's always a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
to Describe when that happens.
Yeah.
Power of attorneys.
Yes.
So when people have made a choice and they've decided they don't want to be resuscitated and they lapse into a coma, which they will do,
Yep.
and their family says, do something.
I don't think that happens in residents because that's made very clear. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I know. My uncle did that to my aunt. But yes, at hospice, I think it's made very clear when they come in that there is that do not resuscitate order, and that they don't change that. So we've never, in my career there of the 2.5 years, have heard of them ever doing that, or that's even an option. I don't think that's made clear, I think, to families when they do come there.
Interesting dilemma, frequently.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, good
Yeah.
for you and good for the work you do. And
Well, thank
I'm
you.
glad that this is there for people. It's certainly invaluable assistance. And if they can get assistance before they're at that
Yeah.
stage, it helps
Yeah.
them work through that.
And that's part of the other thing too, is like you said, a lot of people don't know how to access that service or even know it's out there. So hopefully, I didn't have any cards today, but our information's on the at a glance. But if anybody knows of anybody, just share any of that with them, because we do really want to help support people in their homes and make sure that they get that good end of life care that they deserve.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Julie, thank you for coming on behalf of the council and staff. We really appreciate you bringing your service to the north end of the county.
Yeah,
You know,
it's pretty exciting to be out here.
Often, we do get forgotten about the odd time, and sometimes our friends in the south don't know where Minto is. So thank you for showing them the way up this way. So we
Well,
appreciate you coming, and
yeah.
thanks for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
And if you two young ladies would like to vacate, that's fine with us. If not, you can stay.
Thank you very much.
No, it's not a problem. Don't be sorry. So the next on the agenda is the Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament check presentation, and I'll ask Quinn to tell us what we're doing here next.
All right. Normally Tanya would be up here, but she's got something else going on this afternoon, so it's just me. So through you, Mayor Turton, to members of council, You wouldn't have known that this was Mayor Turton's first tournament with how smoothly everything ran, from stopping the storm at just the right moment to making sure everyone was off the course on time for dinner. He had everything under control from the moment planning started for this year's tournament. The groups chosen to benefit in 2023 provide a wide range of services to our community, including planning events to bring current and past residents together, teaching youth sports, supporting the arts, and celebrating the history of Tiviotdale. At the tournament dinner, Mayor Turton spoke about the importance of volunteers and the impact they have on our community. And so it is my pleasure to present the proceeds from this year's tournament to the very deserving individuals who are here with us today. With the support of the community and the golfers who return year after year, we managed to raise enough money to present each group with a donation of $3,250 to be used towards the initiatives of their choosing. So I'd like to invite the groups up to tell you a little bit about what the money will be used for, and then we'll get a picture. So we have Skating Club up first.
Hi, so my name is Emily Lubers and I'm the president of the Harriston Skating Club. And so we will be using the money towards ice time and also can skate, skating aids, and that kind of thing. And we're very, very grateful to accept this donation today. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Peggy Raftis from the Grey Wellington Theatre Guild, and this is Megan Raftis. We too are also very grateful to accept this donation to the Grey Wellington Theatre Guild. We will be using it to go carry forth celebrations for our 50th anniversary that will take place next year, and we are staging Anne of Green Gables in the fall of 2024. So this donation will help us pay off some of the expenses of that. Thank you.
I'm still Wayne Martin. I forgot to tell you that last time. Anyway, the Tiviotdale Group is proud to announce that we've reached our financial goal. We've had our site plan, maybe a little premature, and we hope to complete the project next spring. So it'll be an outdoor historical display, and it looks like it's going to be at 1 of 2 sites. But anyway, we'd like to thank the Mayor's Golf Tournament, and it helped really put us over the top. When we have it done, we'll make a public announcement to our sponsors and all the rest of the people in Minto that they're welcome to come out and enjoy the opening with us. Thank you. Go Blue Jays.
Excuse me. Still Chris Harrow. Hat I'm wearing right now is one of the members of the Homecoming 2025 committee, and thank you to the Mayor's Golf Tournament. This is our first seed money to help with the homecoming and to start planning with booking some bands and entertainment and tents and whatever else we need to do. So this helps us get started, and more to come in the next year as we get ready and get plans drawn up for. So thank you.
If all the groups wanted to come up and get a photo at the front. Yeah, you just have to take a picture now. So as long as you can stand high enough to
I
get
don't
it
think they approve that.
up on a ladder.
Always put the beauty in the middle. That's why I don't way over here.
So on behalf
Yep, it's on.
on behalf of our council and myself and our staff, I mean, I've heard it said before how the mayor gets the credit. Well, in this case, this is their 13th year. And I've talked to George about this, Mr. Bridge, and he's under the same impression that I am, that our staff was a big part of this. I mean, I really didn't do anything, and he's kind of what he said all along, helped make a few decisions that were kind of already made. Quinn and Tanya and Janet. Well, that's good. So, yeah, let's do this year. Okay, well, that's good. We already decided that. Okay, it's perfect. So, I mean, that's good. I mean, I don't have any problem with that. And for 13 years now, every year we have worthwhile opportunity to give money away to different groups. And so this year, we've been introduced to you guys, and we want to thank you for being a part of it, putting your name forward, and we hope you use that $3,200 or whatever it was, $3,250. Good use. We know you will. And good luck, and thanks for being a part of it. Same thing goes for you guys. If you want to hang around, Wayne, you've been here before.
Again.
Hi, Karen. See ya.
See you, Wayne.
So I mean that very sincerely, Quinn, and it's sad that Tanya's not here, and I know how much Janet's done over the years, and it's been a long-standing 13 years, and we're looking forward to next year. It was very seamless, always very seamless, and it's well put together. These gals are all over it, and so thank you, and we're looking forward till next year. So thanks a lot. So next on our agenda is the Upper Canada Two-Cylinder Club. We have David Craig and Doug Dan. So everybody knows what's happening here and where these guys, who they stand for. I'm surprised they don't have anything green on today. But so David, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Turton and council members. I'm David Craig of the Upper Canada John Deere Club president, and probably I'll be president one more year. Just because of the past few years and what COVID did to many organizations, I think I'll be sticking around for one more year if they have me. So basically, you'll probably see me again next year. Basically, today in attendance, Doug Dan is a director on our board, and he'll be speaking to a few areas that he was working on for our July show. Basically speaking, I think our July weekend, we were blessed with great weather. The Thursday night parade, rain just all of them stopped right around 6 o'clock. I don't know, Chris, that was your doing or not, but it went off with a hitch. People really turned out downtown and throughout the residential part of Palmerston. We heard nothing but good things, and next year they said we want more. So I think Doug has put his name in the hat to run that again, and then Chris, you can help us out. That would be a great thing. The Friday night and Saturday night tractor pulls were excellent. We had great weather, good turnouts, huge turnout on Saturday, and it well lasted into Sunday morning. I hope that didn't cause a few problems for the local residents, and you didn't get too many phone calls, but plans are underway to sort of tame that down for next year. I'd also like to thank Greg Malott and his staff for the hard work and all they did for us for that weekend and follow up. We've already had a planning meeting for next year. There's going to be a few changes and improvements, which we're excited about. I'd also like to say thank you to Grace Wilson and Christian Feldoff, who provided ag awareness to the children on Friday afternoon. This is the first time our club's ever tried that. I think the kids came out, they were mesmerized, they asked questions, and good questions too. And we shared some knowledge and gave them a ride on a wagon down through and showed them the working sawmill, some of the old tractors, and they seem to be quite excited about that. So hopefully we can continue that, because they are the future, not only in ag awareness, but also maybe they will be in my position and part of the Upper Canada Club at some point later on in their life. Working with the Palmerston Ag Society and the full group was excellent. Really good group to work with. I think we had our wrap-up meeting. Plans are underway next year. And so that is really, really an exciting thing, because anytime you partner with a new organization, there's always that, what's gonna happen if this happens, you know? But everything went off with a hitch, and I'm very pleased to say that we'll be working again with them next year. The other thing, I can give you the dates of next year's show. So next year, our show will Friday night to the Sunday night, so it'll be July 26th to the 28th, 2024. And hopefully, again, we can do the Thursday night tractor parade through downtown Palmerston as well. As a nonprofit organization, we always like to give back to the community when possible, and this year was a very successful show. So that allowed us to pick a few organizations and give some funds back. We also like to thank Carol Jones Enterprises and Family of Arthur, who loaned their home-built replica. We're on now. Okay. Thank you very much for that. The replica sawmill was built, driven, and sawed logs, and these logs were donated by Magoo Transport, Pat McGawkey, who supplied spruce lumber to be cut into rough boards, which then was sold to interested public attendees. So a few weeks ago, our club presented to the Palmerston Hospital a check for $3,000 towards the purchase of the MRI machine, which is desperately needed. I think that's something. When I talked to Dale Franklin about what we were wanting to do, she was very excited and appreciated of our donation. So that went really well. Just a few weeks ago as well, we were able to donate to the food bank here in Palmerston that just reopened their new location. And that happened because of partnerships with other companies that we have in our midst. Fortivia Agri-Science, which is a division of Pioneer Seeds, gave us some seed money to buy sweet corn, which we cooked on the Friday night on an open pot fire. And through donations from the people who consume that delicious sweet corn, we're able to supply a check of $400 to the Palmerston local food bank. So those are two of the ones that I would like to share with you. And Doug, I'd like to call you up now for your remarks, and then I'd like some closing ones as well.
Thank you, David. To the mayor and council members, thank you for taking time to have us today. My name's Doug Dean, and I worked with two new projects with the show this year in conjunction with the town of Minto and staff members. And on behalf of the Upper Canada Two-Cylinder Show, I would like to publicly thank all the staff members of Minto that worked with various club members and with David, and personally with myself. I was involved with Chris Harrell, who did an outstanding job, and also Greg Mallet and Aaron Raftis. Three great individuals, and they couldn't do enough for us. They didn't overrule us or dominate us, but they were there. They were professional. They were friendly. And when we had questions, we got answers. So I can't say enough about the great job these staff members did. I'd like to talk further about the tractor parade that David touched on. It was Thursday night, July 20th. It was a landmark event for us because we've discussed doing this event for years at our other locations where we've had our shows. This is this year was our 31st show, and we were thrilled. Out of 15 sites we inspected, we being the club, to move our show to. And as you're aware, we decided to come to Palmerston, and it couldn't have worked out better. So we're looking forward to the future. The logistics in Palmerston and here in Minto allowed us to do this tractor parade. Chris gave us good advice to do the parade route. We had safety concerns because anytime we've done public tractor runs, without getting into details, out in the public, which is almost impossible to do anymore because of all kinds of regulations, which I won't go into, but it worked to do it here in Palmerston, and it went over great. And David was right. I was the back of the parade, and I had all kinds of feedback, people hollering up to me, do this again, do this again. So Chris, unfortunately, we've got some more work for you next year if we can get our permit approvals once again done. We had about 50 tractors, and we need to commend the Palmerston Fire Department for the great job that team did with a rolling blockade. I didn't know how a rolling blockade worked. I didn't worry about it. Chris said they'll make it work. And please know our tractor drivers felt safe, and that staff, your staff, done a tremendous job. The way they communicated and made that parade work. As a result, our club on September 28th, the other night, made another donation, and it was to check written to town of Minto, but earmarked to the Palmerston Fire Department, a check for $1,000 for the Palmerston Fire Department to use however they wished. And I think they were very pleased to receive that donation, and they did. They earned it. They earned every dollar of that. Next year, we want to do the parade again, and I need to publicly state, this is the first we're announcing this. I need to back up a moment. Most years in the past, our show has always had what we call a guest tractor brand. We invite another make, believe it or not, us crazy John Deere collectors, we do like other makes as well. And so the decision was made by our board this past month that we will have a guest tractor brand next year, and we've invited the Ford Tractor Club to come and join our show next year. So we're going to have green and blue tractors as part of our show, start to finish. That also means that they'll be entitled to join the tractor parade. So this will make a bigger parade. And a number of the Ford Tractor Club members do have some old Ford cars and trucks, and we're asking them to bring old trucks and cars. So I envision we'll have some on the ground and some in the parade, just to give you an idea where we're headed next year, so we can all properly prepare for the expanded tractor parade is what we anticipate. The last thing I'd like to mention is the competition our club has done for years called Decorate for the John Deere Show. We've done this in the past at our previous location, and we bought it to Palmerston. And Aaron Raftis worked with us in great lengths, and myself, to communicate to the downtown Palmerston businesses if they wanted to voluntarily enter our competition for dress up their storefronts, outside or inside, with John Deere themed items, they could. And we did have pretty keen competition. We had 4 entries this year, and it was very close judging. These displays are judged by our club members. We have a committee of 4, or actually 5, so we have no ties, that will judge these competitions. And I'd like to recognize these 4 businesses as I come to the end of my presentation. And the businesses, the top placing ones were Blessings Thrift Store, Teeny Tiny Tots, Ear and Hearing Clinic, and CIBC, all downtown Palmerston. We have some ideas to maybe expand this next year. We've actually had people, residents in the township, ask if they could dress up out where they live. I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. That might be an interesting question to entertain as town of Minto and our club. I'm not sure, but those are good problems to have. We certainly feel part of the community, and we want to be part of the community and help give back as much as we can as a club. So that's where we're at. And lastly, I'd like to thank many, many of the businesses in Palmerston. And also there were some in Harriston and Clifford that did put up our show flyers, and also the tractor parade flyers that Aaron did for us. And they were quite visible through the town of Minto. So our club we're thrilled to be here in Minto, and thanks for having us. Thank you for your time. If you have questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Thanks, Doug. To wrap it up, finally, I think it's important that we communicate, our club, communicate with you, council, at least twice a year. From that standpoint, you get to know what's about to happen. If we can have some feedback from council and some work from your team members to make it at the show even bigger and better, I think that's very, very important. The other thing is, what we were trying to do here is provide something for community people, as well as the guests and visitors that come to visit our show in those 3 days. And with that being said, I'd like to say thank you for letting us have some time here today. And Doug and I would be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions at this time? Hearing none. The partnership that's been created in 2023 between the Upper Canada Tucson Club and Palmerston Minto, the Palmerston Agriculture Society. I mean, it's been terrific. I was there each day. I sat there on Friday night and listened to Doug on the mic. And I mean, whether it was a Ford, a Cockshot, a Case, a Massey Harris, or a Massey Ferguson, or whatever, coming down the track, he was right there explaining, and I'm sure you were, David, as well, explaining what every tractor was, when they were built, where they were built, and I was pretty impressed with that, and it was really exciting. I sat there with Mr. John Nader, and we're both old farmers, so it's really nice to hear about how well our staff performed that particular weekend and before and after, and we enjoy hearing stuff like that. We've got a great staff, a great group of volunteers, and I know every one of you guys and gals are volunteers, and our towns are built on volunteers. So if there's anything that we can do for you, just let us know, and I'm sure we will, because we appreciate that partnership, and it was a great weekend. We've heard a lot of positive comments, and so thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you for your donations as well.
You're welcome.
So if you gentlemen would like to leave, that's fine. You won't slight us?
No problem.
Alrighty.
I got some other stuff on the go here too, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
So we have a question period. Next item is correspondence. We have recommendations moved by Councillor Potnovitz, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the council receive the correspondence as information. 7 or 8 items. Is there anything that anybody wants to talk about or pull? The Crime Stoppers letter there is C. Or D, sorry. We've got other items there for your reading. So if there's nothing anybody wants to pull, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the correspondence? That's carried. Thank you. Moving right along into the committee minutes for approval, and there isn't any. So staff reports, we've got Quinn Porter talking about CL 2023-010. It's the Human Resources Policy Update. Quinn, please.
Through you, Mayor Turton, to members of council. One of my goals for this year was to update a number of human resource policies. Most of our current policies were written between 2005 and 2010 and are really out of date with regards to the employment landscape of today. So as I know that you are aware, flexibility and work-life balance are major driving forces for today's workforce, and requests related to this are becoming more prevalent in negotiations with potential employees. So as a smaller municipality, there are a lot of ways that we can't compete with big centers. So the best way for us to stay competitive is through the benefits that we provide and the positive and supportive workplace culture that comes with those. And updating our policies to reflect this is an important step. So many of these changes came from best practices that are seen in other municipalities in the area and from discussions that I've had with HR professionals from many different sectors about recruitment and retention practices. So I'm not going to go through all of the policies, but I will note a few major updates. So we took our vacation and personal time policies and consolidated them into one for our staff. We changed the way vacation time is accrued, so you earn 1 day per year instead of waiting 5 or more years for an increase, which is something that I often hear when talking to potential employees. Our old bereavement leave policy had a set list of immediate family members and offered 3 days for every loss. This new policy expands that list, but also tiers the number of days available to you based on the relationship. And our employee expense policy was updated to mirror the council expense policy that was approved earlier this year. So these are relatively small changes in the grand scheme of things, but they have a huge impact on employee satisfaction and engagement, and they go a really long way in showing our employees that we appreciate them and we care about their well-being. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Questions for Quinn? I guess what I should have said was the recommendation is moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report CL 2023-010 regarding human resources policy updates as information, and further that the council approves the employee's business expense policy, and further that the council endorses the implementation of the bereavement leave and paid time off policies as written. Now we'll do questions. There was, go ahead, Councillor Potnevitz.
Yes, through you, Mayor Turton. Quinn, I noticed on some of your correspondence there, you had mentioned, I guess, starting 3 weeks out or 3-week vacation. Is that kind of a standard thing that's going on across other municipalities?
It is, yeah. So we did offer 2 weeks for the longest time, and I've heard a lot from people who have gone through recruitment in different municipalities that 3 is more standard. And actually, even from some of my colleagues, we at one point tried to work with Wellington North for a position, and even they were like, "Really, you only offer 2 weeks? Like nobody does that anymore." So we've moved to 3. Just yeah, it's more standard now.
I know it's very competitive out there, and it's probably a good thing.
Other questions? So most of our benefits are middle of the road compared to other municipalities. I mean, we're not going to break the bank with all these changes. Perfect. I mean, there was some really good reading there, and we appreciate the time and effort that you've spent. Let's say some of this stuff is 13 to 15 years old. And thank you for doing that, Quinn. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of this motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. So the next item, I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Dirksen for some treasury items.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. We have 2 items on the agenda tonight, both, or this afternoon, both kind of the same. And I'll pass it on to Treasurer Duff to take us through the first one, please.
So the first one is
Okay, I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Elliott and seconded by Councillor Gunson that Council of the Town of Minto receives Report Finance 2023-014 regarding Section 357 and 358 application, and that these adjustments be approved. Are there any questions? Okay, all in favor? Thank you, that carries. And we'll go on to the next one.
didn't do to change so this affects farm cut. So many farms in this area would want perhaps oh. Every birthday expect this particular report to kind of be a one-time thing. As we're making the change, unless there's further changes, I don't see that we'll go through again. It should be on the 2024 assessment roll with these changes made. They were discussed quite a bit in early 23. All the notices have come out, and now we have enough information to make those changes. So other than that, it's when you get a class change or appeal and assessment. And you're very aware this is the 8th year of the 4-year cycle. And I'm 100% confident we're going into the 9th year next year, so possibly 10. So there shouldn't be that many minutes of settlement. So, anyway, ask any questions or anything?
Okay, I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman and seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson that the Council of the Town of Minto receives Report Finance 2023-015 regarding minutes of settlement and assessment adjustments, and that these adjustments be approved. Are there any questions on this report? Yes, Mayor
Thank you,
Turton.
Chair. So, I mean, there's absolutely nothing we can do about this, Gord, Treasurer Duff. It is what it is. It's all set before us, and I'm sure that all municipalities are going through it.
Yes, it affects virtually every municipality theoretically, and municipality like us, which has a significant part of farmland with woodlots, there are quite a few affected properties.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, calling the question. All in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Treasurer Duff, and I'll pass the chair back to Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. Do you want to start with the announcements?
I could, but I don't believe I have any today.
Go ahead, Councillor
And
Zimmerman.
I also do not have any today.
I also don't have any.
Councillor Elliott? Go ahead.
I have a couple. First to announce, October 14th is the opening game of the Palmer 81s, and I believe there's a lot of minor hockey games going on that day. The game's at 4 o'clock, but the significance of this game is we had that video clock donated to our arena, and Jamie and Kara Toccolino, who donated it, will be there that day. We have a little plaque that goes underneath the sign thanking them for donating $60,000 to put that video sign in place. They're also going to be dropping the puck to open a game, so I would hope that we can get a whole bunch of councillors. The mayor is going to be there to help with the presentation, and I hope we get a lot of councillors out that day to support them. That type of community support is unbelievable, and they're great people. We're going to have, they belong to our Lions Club, and we're going to have a lot of Lions out there supporting them too. So I'd appreciate it if you could come that day. I believe we'll be starting at 4, so if you're there at 3:30, that would be great. Secondly.
What time is that? Sorry, Councillor Elliott. Or
The
sorry, what
14th
day? What day?
14th of October.
14th of October. Thank you.
That's a Saturday. Secondly, we have a presentation of the Ballas. Anybody's ever heard of the Ballas? They're going to be playing at the Norgan Theater, and they're presented by the Norgan Theater and Palmerston Imperial's ball team. That's a ladies' ball team we have in Palmerston. And the Ballas are pretty famous for what they've done. Several of them are involved in Drayton Theater and many productions and such like. And man, they are so talented, and what they can do with music is amazing. So they're going to be doing, it's a Christmas concert that they're going to be involved in. So it's Thursday, November 30th, and the tickets are $25. Doors open at 7 p.m. and show starts at 7:30. And ticket locations are online at norgantheater.com or Palmerston Home Hardware. And Norgan Theater is on 275 Main Street West. So get in the Christmas spirit, everyone. And we look forward to having a bunch of us show up, and anybody out in TV land to show too. Would be great. It's going to be a wonderful event. Thanks.
Next.
I have nothing to make.
Councillor Gunn.
Just something quick. So I spent a lot of time at the arena in the last 3 weeks, and I've had a lot of good comments about the scoreboard. A lot of people excited to see what it can do. And just happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We get to spend time with family.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. A couple things. Just like to pass along our thanks to the Lions clubs for putting together the golf tournament for the MRI over this past week. It was a good day, and it's a lot of money raised. And, again, a lot of volunteers, and that's a good thing. So, Ron, pass along our thanks to your group.
We haven't got the final result of money, but we raised fairly well. And so the money, 60% of the money is going to go to the MRI machine, and the other 40% are going to the Mount Forest Hospital for whatever their needs are. So, yeah, really appreciate everybody being out, and we had a silent auction, and people really supported that. And they paid more than what their articles are worth on mainly. I tried to bid on things, I kept getting outbid. So who won that turn? Pardon me?
Who won that turn?
I think Councillor Gunston was on the winning team.
Okay.
One of the winning teams. There was a secondary. My brother Rick Elliott was part of the other winning team. So there's two of them at 15 under.
I think we were 11.
Oh,
so
11 under.
Yeah, there was 11.
11. And I forgot Mayor Turton was part of that team too.
Thank you very much, Ron. A couple of other items. I was at Minto Chamber meeting last night. There was two items that we had discussions on. The first one being the e-bicycles on the main street of Hairston. Mainly the number of e-bicycles there is around, it's pretty amazing. So there's a couple things that we are going to try and do in reference to that. We've heard from our business downtown that they are a bit of a nuisance, and there has been some collisions. So we're working on that. Second item, the hydro outages on the west side of Main Street have also been a bit of a nuisance, costing business hours for businesses to shut down and go home early or whatever, and just kind of in the waiting pattern to know for sure when the hydro's coming back on, phoning Westario. And it's so what we did was we had a meeting with the president of Westario and one of his superintendent of lines. And so we went out and we had a look at some of the trees. And what we have done is our Public Works Director and Chris, I forget his last name, from Westario, have done an inventory on our tree canopy in the area where we've been having some of the problems, and we have a plan. We have some money left in our tree budget, Also, Westerio trims trees once every 3 years. And very early in 2024, they will be doing the 3-year trimming. So those two items I just wanted to share with you. We've had meetings and we have a plan going forward. Okay, so. Okay, so nothing else to report? All right, so moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Committee of the Whole convenes into regular council. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Notice of motion. Anything under that heading? Next resolution, moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaws, moved by Councillor Potnovitz, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that bylaw 2023-061 to confirm the actions of the council, the corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held October 3rd, 2023 be read a first, second, and third time, passed in open council, seal the corporation. All in favor of that motion? Okay. Adjournment. Resolution moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, Councillor Elliott, pardon me, that the council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. We had a very productive meeting.